and welcome to the 1000houses.com podcast. I'm here with Rafael Cortez. He's over in Phoenix, Arizona. This young man is a go-getter. He started out working at the grocery store at 14 or so, and then became the youngest fireman in the, Tempe, Arizona area or somewhere like that, right?
Yuma, Arizona, yeah.
Yeah, so one of the youngest firefighter in the region or the state?
No, the county. I don't know about the state. County, I was 19. Yeah, there was no. I was the youngest firefighter walking around.
He's an organizational psychologist. Never heard that before, but it sounds very interesting. It's talking about how to take that entrepreneurial mindset and to kind of organize it so it's not all over the place like most of us ADD, attention deficit entrepreneurs that we are. It's kind of like how to reel ourselves in. So we're going to be talking about that. I have a list of questions, but let's just start out, man. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Mitch. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay, so I told a little bit about your background, but where did you find real estate?
So, I became a fireman at 19 years old, but right around 2021, I was sitting down with one of my captains, and we were trying to figure out what to do with the time that we were not at the firehouse, because you're 24 on, 24 off, so you have a lot of time in between to do something. And it's like, we should probably launch a business or something. And we started talking about just a couple of possibilities. I ended up launching a transportation business, non-emergency medical transportation business. Eventually, I left the firehouse. I launched that business, and in the process, I started making some cash and whatnot. So I was sitting on money, and I didn't know what to do with it. My background in construction was, from high school and college. I would do just framing and concrete work and that sort of thing, just to, as a summer gig, right? So I took on that. I was like, well, I've done that before. Let's give it a shot. So I started flipping, and I started flipping houses around 2009. That's when I got started in real estate. But it was because I had some cash to invest, and I went out and I bought a house, and I actually bought it from a wholesaler. I didn't leverage anything, which was silly. So I bought it cash, and I did the whole fix. So I financed the whole thing. It's not the way to do it, but I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted to do something.
So how old were you then?
I was 20, 2009, 26, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so 26. And then how old are you now?
Yeah, no, I just turned 39.
Yeah, okay. Boy, you're a young 39. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what was that price range of that house your first house? What did you pay for it?
So it was coming up from, 2008 happened, right? And all that stuff. So we were at the tail end of that whole section. It was like probably at the end of 2009 when I got into it. So the prices were super low. The bad thing about it was that, it was in a horrible place of town, like the worst place of town where nobody wanted properties. And I got it for I think I paid $62,000 for that house or something. It's in South Phoenix. It's crazy how price points have changed since then, right? To now.
What did you spend on it? Paid 60, whatever. What did you spend on it?
I did all the work myself. The ARV on it, or the retail price point, was about 95 to 100. And I spent about close to $25,000 on the rehab. So it wasn't something terrible, nothing crazy, right? But it wasn't what I expected. I was expecting to make, $20,000-$30,000 on a profit for my first flip, and not pay any contractors and do everything myself. It took me forever. Yeah, it took forever to get the
all kinds of lessons here. One is you don't need to buy the cheapest house in the ugliest part of town, because it's easier sometimes if you just move up the ladder a little bit. Number two, 100%. Don't do the work yourself, for God's sake. Was that right? Did you learn that?
1,000%.
Yeah, you were working for carpenter wages or whatever, And the third lesson is, you have to have big margins in this business, because things don't go the way you think they're going to go. They never do. I've been doing this business for 27 years and 2,500 houses and my share of rehabs, and I never hit the rehabs. You know what I mean? There's always a little bit more that meets the eye, or you go a little step further and kind of over remodel, because it's real tempting to put in the nice countertops or something, or go ahead and blow out that kitchen that you didn't plan on.
Yeah, doing non-conforming. Yeah.
And then probably one of the nicest ideas on this, is that at least on your first deal, you made some money, which was proof positive, an affirmation that, you can go in there, you didn't make as much as you want, but you made some money. Thank God you didn't make $100,000 on the house, because that might have ruined you, because I've seen it ruin 100 people. You know what I mean? Like they made too much on the first house.
Yeah.
So none of this is news to you, but what I really admire is that you got started at so young of age. I didn't find my butt with both hands till I was like 34. I'm about to turn 61 here any day now. And I really wish I tried a lot of businesses. I tried a lot of things. They just never really panned out. They weren't really me. And I'm a slow learner. It took me a while to get through, but I didn't give up. And, I didn't even give up when my first deal went almost horribly bad. I managed to escape it. I got with a con that wouldn't give me my money or my principal nor my profit, but I conned the con. Just gotta remember their weakness is big money and quick money and easy money. So I just made a new deal, but he had to pay off the first deal. The new deal was much bigger. I acted really stupid. He bid on it, and he paid me off so he could get to some more money in my pocket, and then that deal fell through. And so,
man, always read the fine print, right? It's something that I've learned along the process too.
Well, the best cons are good at what they do, and they can even fool really, really smart people.
Yeah.
So
you said something
not to
really
say that it was that smart. I was actually.
You said something really important, which is that not giving up. I think it's a lot of times as entrepreneurs or real estate investors, we walk in there and we feel like we have the whole thing laid out, right? And it's all theory. So it's just theoretical. I'm going to do this. step one is going to be this. Step two is going to be this. And then until like Mike Tyson has a great quote. He says, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And once that happens, I mean, it's the story changes, right? It's a tenacity and the drive that you need to stay in there, stay in the game, not really give up. I mean, that's really 90% of the battle for entrepreneurs, is just not giving up on whatever that is, that that thing that you find. For me, it was I love real estate. I love the space of real estate. It's a great vehicle, and I know that's my playground, right? So yeah.
So you specialize in wholesaling.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess that you've managed to systematize that so that you're not out there running around all the time.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that business, because almost everybody starts out as a wholesaler. I didn't happen to start out that way, but 99.9% of the people do. It's a good place to start.
Right.
It's a nice place to start, but
it's the barrier to entry is low. I mean, that's one of the, it's one of the key things. To me, I actually started flipping, and I had some cash, right? So I was sitting on some cash. I wasn't, it's low barrier to entry. It's usually, zero to, a very small amount of cash that you need to actually start getting leads in. And there's ways of doing it that is very cost effective, right? So it's something that makes sense monetarily. It either takes elbow grease or it's going to take some marketing dollars to get it done, but it's doable. And it's not one of those things that you need to have, super skill sets to accomplish. I mean, once you have it, laid out, it's something that's very, you can take a very systematic approach to it. And to me, I mean, one thing actually on the first property, I bought it from a wholesaler. I didn't even know what the settlement statement was. I just saw all kinds of numbers in there. And then I stashed it, right? Second settlement came over and I bought it from this other guy. And then I asked myself, like, where are these people getting the properties that I'm buying from them? Because they're not the seller. I wasn't going direct to seller. And he was like, oh yeah, it's one of my wholesale properties. So the second wholesaler told me what wholesaling was. And I was like, yeah, cause I see a fee, and I was seeing a fee on that second deal. I think there was a fee about like $18,000 assignment. And so you're getting $18,000 out of this thing. Oh, he goes, yeah, that's my fee. So I was his buyer, right? I didn't know what I was doing. And then I go back to that first deal, and I bought it for, I think, $62,000, but there was a $23,000 fee on that for an assignment. So the guy had locked it in the 40s, and I ended up paying, the markup, right? So it's like, wait a minute, I made less than than the wholesaler in this deal, because I did, and I went through all that. You did a lot more work. Yeah, I did a lot more work. I went through the risk of putting all, the $100,000 pretty much in the line to make about 10K back. When it was all said and done, I was like, this doesn't make sense. So I started looking into it. And long story short, I mean, I started doing wholesale deals, and I figured, you know what, I like the fact that I can come in and flip my agreement or my vested interest in a contract as opposed to swinging a hammer and dealing with contractors. So everybody picks their poison, right? I mean, you have notes and financing and all of that in place. People do fix and flip. I just love the process of wholesaling, negotiating deals, finding problems to solve for sellers, and then getting paid in exchange for that. I mean, it's really what it comes down to.
Okay, so one of the drawbacks that you hear all the time about wholesaling is that it's a job that you have to do it over and over again. But if you systematize it, you can get it down to where you're a business owner and the machine's running, right? Am I going in the right direction with you?
100%. Here's the thing, right? So because of the nature of the beast, because of what it takes to do wholesale, right? It's one of those things that if you get confused, you're going to end up in that hustle mentality, in that hustle, the cage. Right. And then it's because it's doable.
And that's good. And that's good for a while. That's good
Right.
for a while, right? Because you're learning your business, you're learning the ins and outs, you're getting your teeth kicked in, you're making mistakes, you're talking to people, you're learning what objections are, you're learning how the business works from the ground up, which is important.
Absolutely. You have to go through the trench work, right? Mitch, the hustle is a season, not a business strategy. That's the thing, right? You're going to get burned out if you're always hustling, going after the deal and not having a systematic approach to it, not being able to delegate, to automate, and to do things, treat it as a business. It's something that can totally be done as a hustle. If you were to drop me right now in a market that I don't know about, I have the skill set to go out, find a buyer, get it proper in their contract, find a seller, and then make the deal happen, right? It's a skill set now. So if you're going just strictly off a hustle, it's something that's doable. However, if you want to take your time back and actually have a business and shape it, you have to be methodical about it. But the hustle it's a season. It's not a business strategy. And that's one thing that happens with most wholesalers. They stay in that hustle mode for a long, long time. Instead of, being okay with splitting, for example, commission fees to acquisitions reps, paying lead managers to pre-qualify their leads and that, and that sort of thing, and plugging them into this machine. They do everything. And what happens when you do everything? If one piece breaks, if one section breaks, meaning that your marketing is off or your disposition process is off, or the way that you negotiate deals is off, like nothing else works. Does that make sense? It's like, we're going back to the Ford assembly line here. But when you have it, when you have a systematic approach and it's linear, you know what's coming, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, you're able to plug people into that process, and you can step away from it gradually, little by little, until you're running the company. It's not running you. You have people in place making commissions, making money. You still cherry pick, because we cherry pick the deals. We're direct to seller, right? So we have the opportunity, first and foremost, to see what kind of deals we want to keep. Are we going to keep that to a portfolio? Are we going to fix and flip it? What are we going to do? Like, no, we're going to wholesale it. Cool. And it's just how the business works.
Yeah. So one of the biggest objections that I see even in my own office, because we just made our acquisition, guys. We bought 25 houses this month. It's January 2022. It's a very competitive market. It's as tough as it's ever been. I just bought, one of my biggest months, 25 houses. Maybe neither here nor there for you, but I'm taking all these houses down, with private money. And we sat down the acquisition guys, there's 3 of them, and said, the least amount of one made working with my company, for my company, the least guy made about 150, and he was down 3 months with COVID, and the most made 220. Okay. So we sat him down and says, look, you guys all have to get a VA making phone calls this year. You've made the money. You're not broke now. You've got some money in the bank, because we also coached our people on how to save and how to maintain and how to, not just watch this money disappear.
Right.
We need them to get on top so that we can stay together for long periods of time. But we started to see them burn out and said, now you're all going to have to get. So we got 3 VAs. And we trained them all together, and they do, not one VA works for one of them. The 3 VA works for all 3 of them. They just rotate the leads. And they've already picked up, 6 extra deals this month in the first month of training these VAs. No telling, they're making 800 phone calls a week, right?
Yeah.
And these guys were, supposed to make 100 calls a day, and then they were down to 200 a week, which I suppose was really only 100 a week, because they're not going to tell me they were only doing 100 a week. And we could see it. So you started to get them to delegate. Now they're like the happiest guys in the world, because they're not having to make those phone calls anymore. They're doing the part of the business that they like, which is meeting people and making deals and signing contracts. Exactly. Actually where they make their money, right?
Yeah, it's, I mean, at that point you have what happens, and I see it often, especially with, students who are just, hiring and bringing people on. It's they'll have acquisitions do the lead sourcing, meaning that they're doing the cold calling, they're having, the initial conversations, again, plowing through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of records. By the time they get to an actual deal, they're spent, they're tired, they're worn out. And needless to say, like it doesn't give you like a clear perspective of what your opportunities are. At that point, you have your snipers doing grunt work. You know what I mean? And it's not a a good way to do it. So what happens is that let's kind of break down numbers here for a little bit. So if you have, say that you're cold calling, right? I don't know, you have an operation, your marketing is cold calling. If you bring in a VA, a cold caller is going to reach out to 1,000 people, right? The way that we have it broken down is we have cold callers, we have a lead manager, and then we have acquisitions. So the cold callers reach out to 1,000 people, say that 100 of those want to sell the house or want to have a conversation about whatever. Those 100 go to the lead manager. Lead manager will pre-qualify and actually have a discovery conversation with them, and then see if based on condition, motivation, timeline, and price, it makes sense, right? To actually have a negotiation thing, because our snipers are the acquisitions. Like they are the ones that are trained to close. They're the ones that we want to keep busy, right? So out of those 100, maybe 10 make it over to acquisitions. So now my acquisitions rep, the top, shelf, the money maker, it's only talking to 10 people as opposed to talking to 1,000 or reaching out to 1,000. You know what I mean? So in terms of workload, that makes a lot more sense, because they're trained, they're being paid for their skill, not necessarily for their time. They're being paid for the skill that they have, because I want them to lock and want them to be busy. Now, that's one thing, right? They don't burn out that easily. Now, the second thing is when you have a process like that, when you see a low amount of prospects, so say that your acquisitions is only talking to like 3 people a day, you got to ramp it up. How do you ramp it up? You go back to marketing, you ramp up the marketing, but you don't kill them. You know what I mean? To do it. So it'll give you like a good perspective based. If you have the KPIs and all that stuff in place, where your bottlenecks are. You know where to come in and then fine tune. If you need to ramp up marketing to get more leads pre-qualified and get more to that number at the acquisitions, that's what you do. If you have enough leads on the sourcing with the VAs, is there something happening in your conversation when you're pre-qualifying that it's not making it over to acquisitions? So you're able to pinpoint stuff when you have a process in place. But yeah, it's the last thing that you want to do is burn your talent, and it can be done very easily like that if it's yeah.
Let me mention this. Rafael's offering a wholesale business blueprint for free. You just go to 1000houses.com/wholesale coach. Okay. Because Rafael offers coaching in this department. 2 things, several things, man. When you were talking, I'm thinking like a million things. I hope I don't miss all of them here. One is a great place to start. When you don't have money, you're a professional deal finder, because the guy who finds a deal controls a whole bunch of property with just a piece of paper, and it could be very lucrative. Second thing you said, which really jumped out at me, was hustle is a season. What you don't want to do is wait till you get so burned out that now you think, I got to get some systems. There isn't anything left of you to do a system. You have to start building your systems while you're still got that vigor and that passion, and you're not worn down to a nub. If you wait till you're completely burned out to start systematizing, you'll even be shitty at that, because you don't have no juice left. You know what I mean? Nothing left.
100%.
You're jaded. Yeah. You're crazy. You're thinking about quitting, but you don't want to quit because the money's too good. But your tank is empty. So don't wait till you're empty. I love that. Hustle is a season. And so make part of your hustle to start systematizing before that season runs out.